Okay, this reading is the Wild Unknown Oracle and the Waite Tarot. Starting with the card at the bottom of the deck, the Shapeshifter. Looks like more than one animal in one. It's pretty self-explanatory, but it's bearing the number of the devil, which is 15. So looks can be deceiving. Things are not always what they are cracked up to be. First card out was the Gem. Second card out is the Heart. Third card out is the Eternal Child. Now, tarot cards aside, because these are just clarifiers to break down each of these cards in depth. And I look at the Gem, the Heart, and the Eternal Child. It has it speaks to like almost like a saving grace. To be a child at heart, the eternal child itself, you can always find the needle in the haystack. You can always find the gem amongst, sea glass, or like the real nugget of gold in the midst of pyrite. You know what I mean? The gem is the gem, and it's only going to be identified or be able to be seen by someone with an eternal child, or a heart of gold, or a pureness, and a purity. Okay, this does put me in the mind of the Six of Swords, where they're leaving in the Rider-Waite Tarot. They're leaving a tumultuous situation, turbulent waters, things like that, to get to a more calm, stable, harmonious place of balance, which sixes represent anyway. But in this particular, it's like almost like being encapsulated in a nest. Again, we get this same type of theme here with the gem. You have all this black and white, and all this fray, and not foliage, but like straw and dead leaves and different things like that. But this gem still shines. It's something to be cushioned or protected, or it is precious. And that's the heart. And also you have the eternal child. And again, there's this the same types of colors here shown here, kind of radiating out, but you have this kind of bubble of protection here, and that's reminiscent. They're kind of mirroring each other, eternal child and the gem. So for those who are identifying with this eternal child energy, who have that heart, it's right in the center. It is being protected in a sense. In a sense. This is just your nature. This is just something that will always work for you, even if it doesn't seem to be evident at times. Some people almost feel like this is a kryptonite or a weakness, to have a heart this grand, or this pure, or this compassionate. And it does have to be protected, not under lock and key like Fort Knox, where it can't be seen, can't be viewed, can't be touched, because you have to use it. So you have to expose it in vulnerability, in a sense, because that's where it gets stronger. That's how it gets stronger, being exposed to certain elements. So even though this is a scene of being in this boat, being out, and exposed, it's still covered, it's still protected. You always have this sense of protection about it. So it doesn't matter what comes towards you, this will protect itself. It is just naturally going to be something that is protected, even when you feel as if it's under attack. It's not something that you actually have to worry about, but I feel like the worry itself will diminish your protective layer, your protective shield. It will leave you more exposed in a negative sense when you feel as if, fear begets fear, things like that. That Freddy Krueger effect I talk about. Um, for those who have heard me mention it before, once you think of something, even if it's on a negative sense, and you keep dwelling on it, it only grows and it only manifests because it was a conception in the mind and it has continued to grow. So that's what would diminish your protection, because you'll no longer feel its, omnipotent, omnipresence. You'll start to feel as if you're too exposed and unprotected, and that's where the fear-based thoughts start to come in. And the shapeshifter energy kind of alludes to changing one's shape, or changing one's true nature in order to go into this protective mode. And though it is your heart or your energy or your nature, and you feel like you have to guard it, like the masculine aspect of you has to guard and protect this part of you, it's doing so from a fear-based mentality. It's not doing it from a place of assuredness or decisiveness. It's doing it out of survival mode. And that's what will diminish and kind of leave you in a state of confusion, because your heart will be pure like this and it'll be protected like this. But all of your actions show something very different. And you're not confident in your own ability to be protected. It's almost as if you feel if you you have to try extra hard to protect yourself, because others aren't. You're not able to trust others with your protection, and you're thinking of others as human and very flawed, and that is gonna always give you a sense of doubt, always a sense of insecurity. That's not who's protecting you. It's not the people. It's a force. It's a life force. It's God. It's the Creator. And that is what the faith has to be evolved around, revolve around, involve. No human's hands can really hold you, not this capacity. But to have the understanding that you're constantly being protected, that you're constantly being watched over, that the purity that you have is the purity you will keep. That's a personal choice, though. It can't be forced upon you, right? So that's what I was getting from the oracle cards. So for the gem, right, we have this Ace of Cups in the moon, and this is double water energy. Cancer rules the moon, but Pisces rules the subconscious. So Pisces, Cancer here, Ace of Cups, Pisces, Cancer, Scorpio. It's just water altogether. Emotion, spiritual connection, telepathy, nightmares, fears, but also dreams and imagination. So there's an overflow. It's almost an abundance of, and it's bursting out of the seams. Dreams may be very, very active at this time as the moon is in Pisces. And the Ace of Cups is showing an overwhelmment, or a replenish, or a quenching of something. It's like getting that second wind, or rehydration, even on a hot day, or just when you feel that you're not your best, and you can have that cup of water or that cup of drink or whatever, and you start to feel refreshed from the inside out. This is that same sense of feeling, even if it isn't physical. It's a spiritual, emotional type of replenishment, and it was something that you didn't know that you needed, or it happened in the way of you know via dreams or downloads, or just intuition, insight. Synchronicities are at an all-time high, and yeah, you're facing more of the things that scare you, or more of the things that make you uncomfortable, and even still you have to have that faith of protection. This is not a comfort zone type of time. You would not be the gym without the pressure. So this is, there's a lot of water energy here, especially with the lotus. I love the lily pads and things like that, because all of this stuff, even lotus flowers and things of that nature, they are in very not so desirable conditions. They grow in waters, and sometimes those waters are muddy, but they yield very beautiful flowers, very precious ones. Ones that, if you know anything about the chakras, they are represented with lotus petals. So there is a sense of a blooming here, or finally being watered in a way. Water your plants, please. I watered mine this morning, so that, maybe that's an additional message here. But two, you may also need to up your intake on omega-3 fatty acids. I'm seeing, seafood here, crustaceans even. I'm not a shellfish person. I'm allergic to shrimp for a very good reason. They're water roaches, cousins of roaches, basically. Whoever eats shrimp, that's good for you, but it'll kill me. But even to be in close proximity to something that is potentially harmful to you, it can't be a fear response related to that. It's trusting it to be where it is and trusting yourself to be where you are. Just being in close proximity, and this is, I'm hearing, especially for introverts, to be in an environment where you don't ultimately feel comfortable. It doesn't mean that you're actually an introvert. It just means that you're not comfortable around things that are unfamiliar to you. And you can be very much extroverted with things that are very similar to you, or people who are familiar to you. You could be the life of the party, but even still, in the face of things that are uncommon to you, or you don't have a familiarity with, you almost take on the sense of hermit, or the quiet one, or aloof. When that's not really the case, it is just the shapeshifter energy, preservation, self-preservation, which isn't all negative, but it also keeps you back from actually being recognized for your eternal child at heart, purity, okay? Because it's almost like you're a parent trying to protect your child from the world, if that makes sense, but it is yourself. For the heart, we have the Fool in the World, and this kind of goes with what I was saying, even though I wasn't referencing these cards. It's protecting a child, so to speak. The world is looking at the Fool, and these two actually piggyback off of one another. There's always debate if the Fool comes first or if it comes after the world, but I like to see them side by side, because excluding number 1 through number 20, you have these two who are looking at each other. Well, not looking at each other, the world is looking back at the beginning of it all, or looking at a departure of the Fool itself. So the beginning is really the end, if that makes sense. The protection, these are the 4 guardians, the 4 stars, Aldebaran, and there's the other 3. And Aldebaran relates to Taurus. We are in Taurus time, so I think that's why it's coming up so heavily. But it is protection. Definitely. This is like being encapsulated and having that protection, whether you know it or not. And these guardians are not physical. They could be represented by physical people in your environment, but more so it's the energy itself. They have duties, and they're all different. The duty that Taurus has would be more so towards the stability and self-assuredness, knowing what is yours and what is not, a sense of personal belongings and the things that are mine. Leo is another protection spirit. It's another protection energy. And it preserves the ego, which you have to have some sort of ego. This is where your self-esteem comes into play. Your ability to be yourself, to have that self-expression, to be bold and be brave. That's where that comes from. But it all alludes to having the sense of protection and knowing that it's there. Then you have this Scorpionic, which the evolved nature of the Scorpio goes from scorpion to eagle, is it Scorpion, Eagle? No, Scorpion, Phoenix, then Eagle. This is why the eagle is appearing here. It's in its most evolved state, where there's a regalness to it. It's a emotional intelligence, and despite its surroundings, it's above. You know what I'm saying? It's a cut above the rest, and it does have an eagle's eye view. You can see things that other people can't see, and that's in a very intuitive, telepathic type of way. This is a very sensory type of energy. And then you have all this water here that if your heart was not this big, if it was not this pure, you would not have this strength of sense, which Scorpio alludes to. It is it's the fixed ambassador of the water signs itself. So that energy is going to be more prominent, going to be more assured, and going to be more stable as far as securing oneself when it comes to the watery aspect of things. And then you have the Aquarian that's sitting right here with the card of Uranus. And a lot of people like to associate this with Aries because it is the beginning, and they feel like astrologically Aries is the beginning. So they love to associate the Fool with that. But Uranus is a more free-spirited type of energy that can't be bound by restrictions. And really Aries is the baby. So babies do shit first, then they learn the lesson of why they should or should not. And I can understand it in that context. But where Uranus, they're the ones who would, Aquarian energied people, or people under the influence of the Fool, will take risks. Fortune favors the bold. So you have these two bold figures that would actually go out and do things that are uncharted or have not been done before, and display that. This one more intellectually, and this one more physically. And this is where you have that representation in physical form of the Fool. Some people think the Fool is, negative, associated with a jester, or somebody to be made a fool of, or someone who is foolish. But everyone thought Tesla was foolish, and now they're using his information. Posthumously, he was given all this grandeur and praise, and people love his inventions, but while he was alive, he didn't get his roses. All right, so that's the Fool energy for you. But it's with the heart, taking a risk that you haven't taken before, and having the faith that you are on the right track, because your heart is actually never going to lead you in the wrong direction. It's your mind that will trick you into believing, or draw conclusions that will deter you from following what your heart feels, knows, and believes is right, which is the closest thing to God you can get. The creator, source, whomever, just to be honest. So the eternal child, we have this Ace of Wands and the King of Wands. And this is the first, the aces, they're minor arcana, but they're major to me because of how they indicate the newness. They introduce the suit in a very grand way, and they are capped. They end with the Kings, who has come a long way from the beginning to a level of mastery. So even with the King of Wands, this shows up in a lot of different ways. The eternal child will always be, a kid at heart. The King of Wands never loses that about himself, whereas the other kings can kind of get stuck into a sense of duty, or rigidity, or withholding. The King of Wands is going to be very much commanding attention with his presence. He doesn't have to demand it. And so this Ace of Wands shows a progression through the whole suit, having had the conflicts, having restored himself to a place of achievement and being proud of himself. That's where that Leo ego comes in. It is a very positive thing. Very positive thing when used correctly. And the whole wand suit shows you where I would say trial and error has been observed. You can actually see this in the card form, all the way from the ace up until you get to the Queen King. The senses are very keen, very alert. He doesn't have much around him, and he can still make do. He can make $1 out of 15 cents. This is a very innovative type of energy. It's a very creative type of energy. And I see so many people confuse the King of Wands with, oh, player energy, and this is someone else's, he's a cheater, and he's a this, and he's a that. The King of Wands in a, I would say, vice frequency, when dealing maybe in the shapeshifter energy, is going to do things that that try to regain this spark. Things that excite him, things that inspire him or her. But the king energy is talking about a level of evolution, not necessarily gender. And I see it as a king. But this is a masculine energy of a man or a woman that has gotten to a certain place of confidence, certain place of comfortability with their own sense of eternal child, to where now there's a sense of being prideful or having pride about who they are, even in their childishness, childlike energy. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean that they always play games. They know how to be serious and take charge. Definitely do. But it's showing that this is what keeps them in this place, or has brought them to this place of elevation, evolution. The water and fire, they are combined here. And then you have air and earth right in the middle. So all suits are present. All suits are present. I'm getting magician energy with this without him even being here. He's showing up very, very prevalently for me. Magician without it, being shown. You have these aces and you have all the suits here. You have all the representation here. And you have something being done with it. Ultimately, this is the goal anyway. You can still get the same result with different tactics or different strategy. And sometimes it's instinctual and it's not so cut and dry, metered out, written down, labeled, vision boarded. Sometimes you can have that instinct to do certain things. This is kind of prompting, okay, the end of this cycle and a beginning of a new. This has taken place and now it's going towards something that feels a little less familiar. It is uncomfortable, but the sense of what it brings is what propels it forward. You got to get through. You got to get through this. This face here that this person has is the same face I see on the Hermit and the same face I see on the person in the Four of Swords. It's a very contemplative, subconscious energy where subconsciously you can know the answer to a question, and consciously you'll be asking all the wrong sources for the answer, but you'll have it. It's just a sense of taking a route you've never taken before, detouring, changing one small thing. The Fool can be one small thing that you change, that you just do differently, and it doesn't have to change your whole life. In that sense, you don't know that small change, going a different direction, going someplace new, trying a new idea, can spark this type of newness, a necessity. But your eternal child heart has led you to the gem, if that makes sense. So with the shapeshifter, I do see here the Wheel of Fortune and the Six of Cups. And I like this because it really tells you that you're going to come full circle and you're actually going to re-encounter something that you've encountered before that you didn't have the courage to follow through with before. This cycle here, with that one little small change you've made, it changes the whole trajectory of where you're going. And it's for the positive, because the Wheel of Fortune is even featured here with this 10 energy right on the Six of Cups. And it was almost as if even back then you had a clue of where it would take you to come back. It's like a marker, it's like a checkpoint, and you actually have to come back and finish what you started. So this could be people from the past, this could be situations, cities, neighborhoods, shit, people, family, whatever. It's a situation that does come back around, but this time you'll use less of the shapeshifter energy and more of the King of Wands full world energy. All of these major arcanas, 1, 2, 3 in succession, 2 aces and a court card. If I were playing poker, this would be a very good fucking hand, if you ask me. Again, another major arcana. And then this 6 of cups. This 6 is a harmonious number, and it is very, it's the shapeshifter energy in layman's terms. So you're still coming back to an energy you're familiar with, but this time you'll have a new sense. Like that, if I knew then what I know now, well, you know now, and you can go back and do it again. But this time it'll occur differently. It'll play out differently. I don't see a lot of speaking here. I see more so when it comes to your emotions and how you handle yourself. This emotional maturity is hard won. Very much so. And I forgot that the death energy was here. I did say, show it in the beginning, but that Scorpio energy is coming up very strong here. So yes, another major arcana. This changes not just the trajectory, but then it ends something very permanently, like a lesson, again, that you have to go repeat, that you have to follow through with. It's like the final time, the last trip around the track. You don't have to actually deal with this again or go through this lesson again. You're pretty much graduating this specific lesson. You have the death card, you have the world card, you have the fool card. These are all ending and beginning cards. Something that ends begins something new. Your life begins in a new way. So you see the boat in the heart, and then you see the boats in the death card as well. Right? So a way of living or a way of doing things prior has ended. And again, with the Wheel of Fortune, we have all the guardians. I love that these two came out together. You have the guardians. And still, there's this sense of protection. Now this Sphinx sitting here is bringing out that Chariot energy, is bringing out that water energy. Even though Jupiter is a Sagittarius card, we're still seeing the representation of all 4 guardians and all the elements. Again, very magician-like energy when used in a high vibration instead of its low vibration of manipulation and tactic. Again, we have the white rose of purity here and the white rose of purity there. We have more synchronicities, more resounding energies, and it keeps showing itself for what it is. Now this sword here, this Sphinx is another layer of protection, and in protection of in a sense where even if the devil energy is there with that 15 energy from the shapeshifter, the devil energy can be there and it doesn't rattle you. The Sphinx energy has the sword of truth, and it is in a sense of protection. Certain things are written to cross your path. Certain things you will definitely encounter, this being one of them, coming back around, reoccurring. There was always a guardian. There was always a guardian. There was always a sense of being seen or something. It's like bookmarked for a later time. And time is concurrent, not consecutive. Not consecutive. It's concurrent. It's running all at once. So even still, you'll be right in the same energy of the past, but in the future sense, in the present tense, in the future sense, coming shortly. But you won't have the same reaction and actions. You'll be proactive this time. That Taurus energy that's kind of stubborn, stuck in its ways, and and unyielding, that's what's coming facing death. Okay, again, you have these pillars here, not much different than these, huh? So your subconscious fears or things that make you uncomfortable, that actually will be met with this energy of death. Things have to change. The only thing spared is the purity of heart, the eternal child, the gem to be protected. You understand? So that's the reading I have for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got something from it. I hope you understood where I was going. It was an impromptu reading. And yeah, I will speak to you guys soon.